그러면 문제를 몇 개 풀어봅시다. I'm going to speak English from now on. Okay, you see this question right here. Okay, I am going to actually tell you that this particular question came from October and November of this year. Okay, it's not the exact same question, but it's a variation of the actual test given or test question given. We'll first explore what the question is. The question asks, which finding, if true, would provide evidence that possibly Kim et al. Investigated does occur. You would know that this is a command of evidence question where you find the main idea with proper qualifications and you need to extrapolate proper evidence supporting the main idea. Okay? You see the text here. You can go ahead and pause and read the text for briefly. Okay? But I'm going to just address the key points from this particular text. The first thing that you should know that Tesla uses brand to explore a new market. Second, researchers actually were trying to study the connections through similarity in the brand pairs and how it led to consumers buying these extended brands. And that is done through ratings, okay? And then they calculate the change in its probability. Now, knowing these pieces of information, you should be able to construct some kind of supporting evidence that what? The rating, as the rating increases, the change in probability would also probably increase. That would tell me how those causes are related to the effects, okay? And here are the choices that you'll be looking at from the test. The first one states that consumers tended to purchase more products in categories in which extended branded pairs are found than in categories in which extended brand pairs are not found. Now, the text stated that only the extended brand pairs were discussed. That would mean whatever the categories in which extended brand pairs are not discussed or is irrelevant to the choice. So that one's obviously out of the way, okay? And B says consumers' ratings and change in the probability calculated by the researchers are both affected by the level of product familiarity. Well, that's great. So the product was familiar with them and it affected them, but then how does it show that it actually have any connections other than the fact that it was affected? So that one's also not something related to the supporting evidence that we would show. And D says consumers' ratings varied substantially by extended brand pair, whereas the change in probability calculated broadly similar for each pair. That means even though the ratings differed, the probability weren't really affected. Then it does not correctly address the supporting information that you would like to find. So that would also be an incorrect choice for this question. The C right here says there was a strong positive correlation between consumers' rating and the changes in probability calculated by the researchers. Okay? By showing a strong positive correlation, once the ratings go up, you would know that change in probability would also go up. So your answer that you're trying to find is C. Well, that was fairly simple as long as you understood what to find. So then in November, you would see this passage. It is very similar to the passage that you read just moments ago. It's a little bit different, okay? But it also addresses the same topic as far as the Cybertruck being entered into the truck market and also how they were trying to find category similarity, predicting likelihood to brand extensions, okay? But here's the kicker. The question for this passage in November was actually different. It says, based on text, which potential study design would most likely to produce evidence that would enable Kim et al. To answer the research question. So what process would it use is what it's asking. But you know what? We just did that question if you saw it. Okay, previously right here. Okay? They were trying, what they did here in the original text was they asked the consumers to rate the similarity in product categories, calculate the change in probability in a pair, okay, if the same brand was purchased in the other category. So you would know that by simply knowing the passage and how the patterns read in the passage, you would know that answer to this question is C. And to have a representative sample of the households rate the similarity of one product in each extended brand pair to other products in the same category and determine how those ratings correlate. See, it is actually rather simple if you were to already know how the passages are structured and the choices are structured. Now we'll go ahead and look at one of the questions from the grammar section of the SATs. This question actually showed up 3 times on this in this particular year, in August and October, and actually in June as well. Okay, so if you look at this question, okay, it is actually a punctuation question between sentence structures, as you can see. Okay, in order to solve this kind of question, you would actually only need to kind of address what the sentence that is referring to. Okay, so I can actually narrow the passage down to one sentence. It says, in contrast, emissions for same shipment would have been significantly lower at 300 and 280 kilograms in other member countries, Germany and Norway respectively. You would notice the word, comma, respectively here at the end of the sentence. That signifies something. You should recognize that means something here. Respectively means in order that something is mentioned. X is mentioned. And you would recognize that the 300 and 280 kilograms actually is respectively referring to Germany and Norway. And that's specific information that applies to those 2 countries. That means you would want to make sure that Germany and Norway is properly addressed in this question. But if I have some choices here, okay? The first thing that I see is C. It has a semicolon there, okay? In order for semicolon, as you know, it's used for 2 different usages. First, when you're joining 2 independent clauses together, right? And also, it's used for in a complex series of items, okay? And obviously, this is not one of those, okay? And if I see here, after Germany and Norway, there is no independent clause. I don't see anything. So obviously, first thing that you would get rid of is the semicolon. That's grammatically incorrect. If you were to look at A, okay, there's a comma in front of Germany and Norway. And as you know in grammar, if you put a comma between nouns, okay, whatever the information becomes after becomes non-essential information. So then if you were to pick A, that means the Germany and Norway does not matter. And that would actually create a conflict where the 300 and 280 indicate those numbers for those specific countries. So A is also wrong. And B, there's a colon here, okay? And D, the remaining one, has no punctuation between. Now, colon would indicate a list of the countries, okay, here in this one, okay? But you go back to what the purpose of this question is. Is this question trying to list or give you the list of the countries that the numbers refer to? Or is it asking to those specific values actually refer to those countries? So this particular question becomes a general noun to specific noun question where it wants you to know or be able to tell apart between non-essential information to essential information that follows. Therefore, rather than picking the colon as a list, which the purpose of the sentence is not doing, the answer would be D. By looking at the sentence structure quickly as possible, you will easily be able to eliminate the wrong choices and wrong sentence structure and be able to find the right answer. I hope you will be able to do the same once you come to 폴아카데미. Thank you.